mme lerato la nnete la bokreste la ho rata bana ba borona le tie ka Jesu Kriste morena le mopholosi wa rona, amen.
Next item, Mr. Clark.
Item 2, tabling of report.
Honorable Chairperson of the Committee on Natural Resources, Tourism, Land Cluster, and on Road Traffic Amendment.
Ke a leboha Mohlomphei. I arise to table a report of the Portfolio Committee on Natural Resources, Tourism and Land Cluster.
On what?
On road traffic amendment of schedule regulations 2017. Thank you.
Order. The report of the Portfolio Committee on Natural Resources, Tourism and Land Cluster on the Road Traffic Amendment of Schedule Regulation has been tabled.
That's a mice. That's a mice.
What is your point of order, Honorable Member?
Rombe ntate Motsamaisi ho na le seboko se seholo ka marena ka mona pelaka. Ikaka ha wa etswa ditukiso tse ntle ha ba kena ka gating ka mona ba khutliswa ba batla di ID hore na ba kena ka tsela efe. Taba e ne bohloko ka nnete hore be marena ka a alla pelaka mona. Jwale ke go kompolokiso gating mona hore ba kene hantle. Ke ba la pelaka mona ke seboko fela ba khutliswa ba ila ba buellwa ke moetapele wa meke ka mono ba mpe ba kene ka gating ka mo ha o kompolokiso ka gating ka mo
Good nthatsa maiso mo. Next item, Mr. Clark.
Item 2, motion number 25, financial policy.
Right, Honorable the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Leader of the House, Honorable Attorney General, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Members, I wish to take this opportunity to welcome all guests into this honorable house. We are indeed grateful that they have been able to find time to be with us this morning despite their busy schedules. Their continued interest in this event is indeed a source of inspiration to us. Budget Day is a tremendous important day in a parliamentary calendar. It is a day on which the government delivers its policy statement, declaring its financial and economic objectives, as well as reflecting its social and economic priorities. It provides a valuable measure of the government's future intentions and past performances. With budget time approaching, we have had a range of questions constantly coming to our minds. What is this year's budget all about? What is in it for us, for parliamentarians, for the aged, in fact, for every Lesotho? We will soon find out. The Honorable Minister of Finance is said to say it all. Honorable Minister of Finance.
That this Honorable Speaker,
Mr. Clark, Abuata Melem.
or you do fast in that.
Abuata Melem.
Next week again.
Okay.
You have not recognized the House. Senators, how is address? In fact, he has no right to his address.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Honorable Speaker, I stand to move that this Honorable House gives general approval to the financial proposals contained in the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2018-2019. Honorable Speaker, allow me to pay my respects to you and through you to His Majesty King Letsie III and Head of State, the Right Honorable the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Honorable President of the Senate, the Chief Justice and Judges of the High Court, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and Leader of the House, my colleagues, honorable ministers of His Majesty's government, honorable members of both houses of parliament, excellencies, heads of diplomatic missions and international organizations, senior government officials, distinguished members of the media, the entire Basotho nation, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Section 112, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Lesotho, I am privileged to table before this Honorable House budget proposals for the fiscal year 2018-2019. This is my second budget speech since I was granted this very important task to serve as Minister of Finance. And in the last 8 months, I have appreciated more deeply the dire straits our country and economy are mired in. The anatomy of the crisis Lesotho faces is manifold, but the following statements characterizes succinctly what the government of Lesotho has to face. Poverty, hunger, joblessness are high and even higher amongst the youth. Ill health is pervasive, and there is persistent mismatch between the skills needed and those that are produced by our training institutions. Hundreds of our young people looking for jobs dropped out of school at the tender age of 12 during primary school and at Form E when they were only 17 years of age. The fiscal resources required to redress these situations are scarce and limit any meaningful intervention by government. This budget is being prepared amidst a tough fiscal position confronting the country. SACCO revenue is significantly down in both nominal and real terms. Net international reserves are below the target we set for ourselves to maintain parity with the rand. While government deposits have finally run out, and any fiscal deficit will now have to be financed through new borrowing. These are new times. Our government now has to bite the bullet and make the decisions that would be painful, but which, if not taken, would impose political and economic chaos on this lovely country. These challenges notwithstanding, government is committed to create jobs in the private sector through a judicious mix of macroeconomic and structural policies. That shall be outlined in detail in the paragraphs that follow. Lesotho faces a mix of global, regional, and domestic macroeconomic constraints, most of which it has no control over. Global output is estimated to have grown by 3.7% in 2017, reflecting modest recovery in both advanced and emerging economies. Sub-Saharan Africa growth is estimated at 4.7%, driven by increased agricultural and mining output. This global growth is expected to remain stable into 2020 and should stimulate both investment and increased demand for exports. Global oil prices have recovered somewhat and are now sitting at $60 per barrel, and this could continue to have a dampening effect on non-oil producing countries such as Lesotho. South Africa has a disproportionate impact on the economy of Lesotho, which is projected to grow by a modest 1.5% in 2018, following a 1% growth in 2017. Significant job losses occurred in the mining and quarrying industry of South Africa, where most of our people are employed. For its part, Lesotho growth is projected to have decelerated from 2.5 to 2.3% in 2017 on account of a slowdown in mining, in construction, banking, transport, and telecommunication sectors, as well as the uncertainty brought about by the collapse of the rule of law during 2015-16. Lesotho's overall fiscal position remained weak for most of 2017-18, with sporadic spikes of shortages in cash and foreign reserves. Government revenue is projected to be 845.7 million below budget by the end of this fiscal year. SACU revenue recovered in part while expenditure maintained its steady path upward in an upward trajectory. The fiscal deficit is estimated at 5.7%, up from a budgeted 4.8%. The resulting deficit is being financed through domestic borrowing and drawdown of remaining deposits. On the other hand, the Lesotho Revenue Authority is likely to miss its tax collection target by about 684 million. Expenditure has nonetheless kept close on target despite the shortfall in available resources. The financing of this deficit has put considerable pressure on our foreign currency reserves. At this stage, I would like to highlight performance on some of the policies we proposed in July 2017 in this House. Peace and stability are the bedrock on which to formulate successful development policies. In recognition of Lesotho's national vision that seeks to achieve peace and stability, the first priority of the current coalition government has been to seek to secure rule of law and justice so that reconciliation can begin, and along with it, peace and stability can entrench. Much has been achieved. Victims of acts of aggression have reintegrated back into society, and some in the LDF. Justice is being sought for others through the normal judicial process. The US government and the Millennium Development Corporation have recognized government efforts and in return has selected Lesotho to develop its second compact. A team of senior MCC officials has just completed their visit to Lesotho to pave way for the development of a new compact. The threat of decertification from AGOA on account of human rights violations has now abated. Likewise, the African Union and SADC are satisfied that the security situation has stabilized since the deployment of its forces. That said, government remains cautious that the task to unify society will take many years after extreme polarization led by some of our politicians. Government is also cautiously monitoring political stability to ensure that it retains the credibility and integrity to continue to govern effectively. Efforts are underway to initiate the long-awaited inclusive political and constitutional reforms. A meeting of political leaders was held early this month to build consensus around reforms and to begin to rebuild relations between our politicians. It is early days, but it is evident that all politicians would want Lesotho to reform, and this is encouraging. The leadership of the Christian Council of Lesotho is commended for its effort to lead the political leaders' dialogue. On the development side, government has signed several financing agreements to support child grants, roll out road infrastructure, reticulate water to households, empower civil society in its function of mediation, and improve tax administration. The Habelo Industrial Hub has been launched and contractor selected. When fully operational, the hub will employ about 14,000 people. Government will also invite private property investors to build factory shells in an effort to start the property market and remove LNDC from providing factory shells. Government will soon conclude arrangements for the construction of the Mpiti-Sihlabatebe bitumen road and the 40 megawatt solar power government investment at Haramarotub. One Power, a private investor, has also been selected to produce 20 megawatts of solar electricity at the same place, in parallel with the government production side. On reducing costs, the class of airline travel has been lowered from first to business class for our ministers. A new entitlement for cell phone benefits has been agreed and published. However, the extent of the savings will be reported at the end of March. On public financial management reforms, the central budget management system was implemented in December 2017. The system forces ministers to reflect carefully on their priorities before submitting their bids to the Ministry of Finance. And this is a very powerful step in the direction of implementing reforms for the government. Under the financial sector development strategy, the Credit Bureau is now operational with 137,000 individuals recorded in the system and 220 accounts. It is encouraging that inquiries, mainly from banks, have reached 30,000. So we know that the credit registry is now working. Although the Maseru Securities Exchange has not yet listed any transactions, preparations are underway by government and some private companies to list on the securities market. Cabinet is preparing legislation on secured transaction regime that would permit movable property to also serve as collateral. Mr. Speaker, I would like to now move to economic performance and outlook. Key real sector developments. In 2017-18, agricultural output for the 2017-18 crop year is expected to rebound, and maize prices have accordingly, mostly on account of declining prices in South Africa. Mining and quarrying plays a significant role in promoting economic growth, but does not generate a lot of employment due to the high degree of mechanization. The textile and apparel sector presently employs nearly 47,000 people, of which 82% are women. It is noteworthy, however, that the sector has failed to diversify in terms of investment, mostly coming from Asia, markets, mostly goods going to the US, and product mix, mostly bulk garments that are intended for the United States. Also, the number of people employed and their salaries has remained stagnant since the mid-2000s. Monetary performance in 2016-17 remained subdued. The Luti exchange rate has remained under pressure but has recovered somewhat on the back of political developments in South Africa. Inflation, on the other hand, has moderated to 5.4% on the back of improved agricultural output. Net international reserves have dropped to a dangerous level of about 3.5 months of imports, riding on the underperformance of revenues and subsequent depletion of government deposits. Lesotho's stock of public debt presently stands at 12.5 billion, of which domestic debt is 1.7 billion, and the balance is external. Contracting public debt has been rising at a rate of 11% annually in the last 4 years and could accelerate if government does not commit to painful austerity measures. On fiscal policy, the fiscal year 18-19 revenues are projected at 16.1 billion, or 43.3% of national output. SACCO revenue for the coming year has declined by 616 million from its level currently. In real terms, this means that government would need nearly $1 billion more to cover the same programs that we covered in 17-18 under SACCO. Expenditure remains high, driven mainly by the wage bill and mostly transfers to Tsepong and Chao. The 2018-19 fiscal deficit is estimated slightly lower at 5.2%. It will be financed by a combination of domestic borrowing of about 1.2 billion and 729.5 million in foreign financing. We do not expect the debt ratio to deteriorate much. The financing strategy is aimed to lighten pressure on international reserves and indeed begin to accumulate some modest amount of reserves. The fiscal outlook presented here is clearly unsustainable. Consequently, government intends to implement the following revenue mobilization initiatives. VAT will be raised to 15% to align with that of South Africa to prevent smuggling. The LRA will introduce a reverse charge mechanism to tax imported services. Government is introducing the voluntary disclosure program, which is estimated to yield some 225 million in additional revenue. The LRA will also enhance tax administration measures targeting improved compliance by major tax contributors. This is expected to yield an additional 350 million. A small business taxation is being introduced to simplify and improve tax compliance. A mining tax regime will be reviewed to cater for windfall taxation. Fringe benefit taxation will be reviewed to expand its base and compliance. VAT rates on telecommunications and electricity, which presently stand at 5%, will gradually align to the unitary rate of 15%. The rates will be increased by 4% for telecommunications and 3% for electricity. All ministries, departments, and agencies should review and set new rates for all non-tax revenues under their control. Government will, as soon as practicable, introduce the government lottery under the Lotteries Act 1975. The legislation will be modernized in tandem with the operation of the lottery. And finally, government will study the introduction of levies on alcohol and tobacco and will consider their introduction in future. As a measure to curtail leakages in revenue collection, payment for all government services and collection of revenue will take place only at commercial banks, and services will only be granted on the production of proofs of payment. The measure will enter into force in April 2018, and the design will be completed in March this year. Mr. Speaker, while mining may not contribute significantly to employment, it is valuable in two important ways, namely revenues and procurement. On revenues, Lesotho's concern is whether Lesotho is maximizing its value from its minerals. To safeguard its rights, government will, during 2018-19, review the entire handling of the process chain until the minerals have been sold. At bilateral level, government will consult with Belgium, International Monetary Fund, and other experts in order to put in place a fail-safe mechanism for diamond handling. The new handling regime will probably introduce independent diamond valuation services and domestic off-taking for the purpose of beneficiation. The Ministry of Mines will focus on construction of a geoscience laboratory, implementation of the geochemical mapping project, legal frameworks, and development on valuation of diamonds. The geochemical mapping mineral information, which is important in attracting investors for mining and creating exploration sites. Most of the companies government of Lesotho holds shares in have declared profits and dividends in the last 5 years. These include the Lesotho National Insurance Group, Maluti Mountain Brewery, Standard Lesotho Bank, A1 Lesotho, Letseng Diamond Mine, and Letseng Diamond Mine. The other companies, namely Lesotho Flour Mills, Econet Telecom, and Avani Lesotho, previously Sun International of Lesotho, have not consistently declared profits nor dividends. Basuda are very concerned about this and have openly called for review of government shareholding in these companies. It is also notable that companies that have struggled with profits happen to extensively use management contracts and buy services from their holding or sister companies. I am pleased to report that Avani Lesotho declared profits and a dividend of 7 million a few weeks ago. Now, some expenditure cutting measures. Government will implement the following austerity measures. International travel has been curtailed to a level below this year's level. There will be no virement into international travel and subsistence votes. Ministers will submit to the Right Honorable the Prime Minister all trips for the full year that shall fit within their allocation for international travel. Transparency in the procurement of airline tickets, including on commissions, will be introduced and framework contracts will be signed with airline agencies. Details of this new approach will be communicated during March. International training will be significantly curtailed and key competencies will be provided by a reformed LIPA. Price caps on common goods procured by government will be introduced. Revenue retention by parastatals will be reviewed with a view to submitting surpluses to the consolidated fund. The government fleet will be rationalized while also transferring their supply to Basud. Subscriptions to international organizations will be rationalized, retaining memberships only to critical ones. The contributory pension scheme will be reviewed with a view to contain the cost overruns and costly decisions of the past. On the wage bill management, government will continue its efforts to remove ghost workers, freeze new positions, and limit hiring to critical positions only. Link notch increases to performance and introduce voluntary retirement. Government will also explore the feasibility of introducing liability insurance for each vehicle registered. This measure will extend automatic insurance to loss of property and will protect all parties involved in any accident. Government will be in a position to claim for damage to street lights and guardrails. Public financial management framework is critical to proper utilization of public resources. The reform of the PFM will continue to make advances in order to take charge of the problem of late payments of suppliers. During 2018, government will introduce electronic funds transfer to all ministries in order to expedite the payment of suppliers. A new IFME system will be introduced on April 1, 2019 to provide better control and track of transactions from the point of procurement. Public procurement is governed by the 2007 Public Procurement Regulations, which espouses the core principles of transparency, fairness, equal opportunity, and value for money. The institutions authorized to undertake procurement are well identified in the law and exclude ministers and cabinet. During 2018 and 19, new procurement legislation will be introduced to pave way for improved direct procurement, public-private partnerships, and unsolicited proposals. In the interim, an amendment of the 2007 regulations will be introduced to provide for shorter times in selective tendering, framework contracts, and price caps. Mr. Speaker, it is quite obvious that Lesotho is facing an extremely challenging fiscal and balance of payments problem. Government is proposing many difficult measures which are expected to deliver some respite in the near term. However, more will need to be done in the medium term, including tackling the wage bill and other sources of overruns. While government policy stimulus is limited, policy must necessarily depend inordinately on the private sector and investment. In the following sections, I outlined measures that government intends to implement in 2018-19 to stimulate investment and job creation. While Lesotho is beset by many impediments to investment, government is making extra effort to support investors. Many of these initiatives require political will rather than money, but will need a systematic approach to ensure that investment actually takes place. With the benefit of the last 8 months, government has learned a lot about the economy of Lesotho and has taken steps to begin the transformation of economic management for the future of our people. 2 critical lessons have come to the fore. First, government ministers work in isolation, and this has been the legacy of the past 50 years. Second, policy formulation and implementation is ineffective and does not learn from mistakes of the past, nor good lessons. The budget begins the unavoidable path to correct these mistakes. Government is divided into 26 individual ministries which work mostly as individuals without collaboration and coordination of their programs. The rise of the number of ministries has over time come with fragmentation of government initiatives, and that has reduced impact of policies. This has also increased competition between ministries and resulted in government working in silos. The ineffectiveness of government is thus in part due to this unwelcome and long-standing development. To take this head on and to begin the process of reversal, Cabinet has established the Finance and Budget Committee to not only formulate annual budgets, but to also specifically force ministries to work together and in constant dialogue with business and investors. While the committee is not new, its approach has shifted from past committees. Rather than interviewing 26 ministries one after the other, as is tradition, it divided ministries into 2 classes, namely the growth, human development and infrastructure cluster on the one hand, and the governance, security and justice cluster on the other. Our country faces many problems, but the most overriding and for which government must focus on is the lack of peace and stability, as well as lack of jobs. Peace and stability, which Lesotho has lacked for most of its 50-year history, is the foundation on which creation of jobs must rely on. Focusing on only these 2 intertwined problems might be judged simplistic, but was a well-thought-through strategy to deliver impact and to take cognizance of the capacity limitations of ministries of government. The Growth, Social and Infrastructure Ministries cluster brought together the economic ministries of Agriculture and Food Security, Tourism, Environment and Culture, Trade and Industry, Small Business Development, Cooperatives and Marketing, Mining, Communication, Science and Technology, Forestry and Land Reclamation, Employment and Labor, Social and Human Development Ministries of Health, Education and Training, Gender and Youth, Sport and Recreation, and Social Development, and the Infrastructure Ministries of Water, Public Works and Transport, Energy and Meteorology, and Local Government and Chieftainship. The economic ministries should have been on the forefront of working collectively to create jobs. The committee observed, however, that they not only work in isolation, they also create business enterprises that are poorly thought through and often fail. The social ministries should prepare people for the jobs the economic ministries create through giving Basotho better health and job market skills. But these ministries have failed us. It is well established that Lesotho spends considerably more money than its peers on health and education, but for much less outcomes. In short, we are throwing too much resources after bad, and we can no longer afford this kind of waste. The infrastructure ministers should provide roads, energy, and water infrastructure to assist both economic and social ministries to create jobs. They indeed provide facilities at a very slow pace because its provision is very expensive. But in doing this, they make two mistakes, namely that their work is not coordinated with the need of the economic ministries to catalyze investment and job creation. Second, the construction of roads has focused too much on constructing new roads rather than maintaining existing ones. These common failures have indirectly contributed to the stubbornly high poverty and hunger rates and the rise in demand for social grants. Discussion with the governance cluster brought together offices of His Majesty, of the Prime Minister, Senate, National Assembly, Home Affairs, Directorate on Corruption and Economic Offenses, Independent Electoral Commission, Justice and Correctional Services, Law and Constitutional Affairs, Judiciary, Police and Public Safety, and Defense and National Security. These agencies should be enjoined by the common objective to collectively achieve peace and stability, which is so powerfully desired by our people. But they don't. There is no clear recognition of this common objective that forms a pillar of the Lesotho National Vision 2020. The cluster discussion succeeded in articulating the primacy of this purpose and how these ministries work collectively to deliver peace and stability and effective governance as a foundation on which to create jobs for our people. This government has now directed this ministry to begin to collaborate to restore governance effectiveness and achieve and sustain peace and stability. Finally, the reorganization classified ministries of development, planning, finance, the Public Service Commission, Foreign Affairs and International Relations as support ministries that can hamper the progress of the other frontline ministries if they are ineffective. These transformation policies outlined in the paragraphs below derive from the extensive review of government organization policies that has been referred to above. Instructed the economic ministers to change course and devote their energies and efforts to catalyze domestic and foreign investment. Each ministry has been instructed to report on businesses it has helped start or expand. Ministers should act to catalyze rather than to go into business themselves. To illustrate, instead of a ministry using public funds to construct a slaughterhouse, it should help serious private investors to invest even if using public money. The important consideration at all times should be the number of jobs that private investments can achieve. For this strategy to work, ministries should pursue in earnest a formal and structured dialogue with the private sector, focusing on jobs to be created and the needs the investors have for government relating to regulatory and targeted infrastructure. Investor needs should thus become part of the implementation plan for government. I am happy to announce that government has established the Investment Climate Reform Committee to be chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister and consisting of technical and policy layers from key investment ministries. The committee will, during 2018, take forward various kinds of reforms to make it easy to invest in Lesotho. Amongst the issues that will be addressed by this committee is the lack of capital for starting a business and for working capital. As government, we recognize that jobs will be increased by raising the scale of production of many of the products Lesotho is already producing. Lesotho are already in production of a diverse list of products, but many of these operate at sub-commercial scale. For example, foods, medicines, and creams produced from Lesotho's endemic plants are produced only in small quantities that do not generate much employment nor profit. One successful broiler producer in Lesotho has determined that the minimum size of a commercially viable broiler operation should start at least 1,000 birds. Anything below that is unprofitable and will not be able to create jobs. So scale is quite critical. As government, we encourage that investors target both domestic and foreign markets. Lesotho's low effective demand for goods resulting from both low population and per capita income prescribe that investments must also target foreign markets. The launch of the Lesotho Standards Authority last week by the Ministry of Trade and Industry is exactly intended to support investors that are contemplating sales in South Africa and other parts of the world. Through the process of consultation, government has identified the following 4 sectors as priorities for accelerated employment generation. Key ministries will work collectively and jointly with the private sector investors to identify actions necessary to elicit investment across the different value chains. Commercial agriculture, a priority. Lesotho's rangeland supports the production of red meat, hides, wool, and mohair. When well managed, it also helps the protection of wetlands and the recharge of water sources. The rehabilitation of rangelands and widespread introduction of managed grazing should stimulate the livestock and deciduous fruit value chains, both of which are priority sectors for this government. Government has instructed the Ministries of Forestry and Land Reclamation, Agriculture and Food Security, Trade and Industry, Small Business Development Cooperatives and Marketing, and Water to work collectively with private investors to rehabilitate the rangelands and wetlands with the objective of stimulating investments in these 2 value chains. Investments in commercial red meat production, hides and related products, wool and mohair, as well as related products, chicken broiler and egg production, and fruit tree production, as well as sale of water to Botswana and continued sale of water to the Republic of South Africa should be the outcome of this collective work and the dialogue with the selected ministries and potential investors. Why would this work? The successful rehabilitation of rangelands, together with improved grazing methods, will not only improve grazing resources, it will also protect the sources of water and help restore high water recharge rates across the country. The Ministry of Forestry and Land Reclamation is implementing a program to remove shrubs from rangelands, and this seems to be promising, but it will take many years for full impact. In addition, government intends to set up a saver hub in Lesotho to help reverse the certification and intrusion of shrub species on the rangelands. Expansion of orchards, together with irrigation, are likely to benefit immensely from a successful program of rehabilitation of the foothill and mountain rangelands. The Lesotho beef industry could be transformed in one single investment. Kechin, a Chinese company, has proposed a large beef investment in Lesotho for export to China and Europe. The investment will include construction of a large slaughterhouse and feedlots around the country to fatten cattle before slaughter. Government is in discussion with the company, and in 2018 will conclude pre-investment discussions. When completed, the scale of this operation will not only raise the beef market, it will also industry in hides and stimulate other products along the beef value chain. Government will undertake feasibility studies to catalyze private sector investment to support construction of poultry and piggery abattoirs, upgrading of the national abattoir to meet international standards, as well as construction of 50 feedlots throughout the country. Government will continue to support the improvement of wool and mohair and the associated value chain. 277.8 million has been set aside to pursue this livestock economy investment. A further 100 million is proposed for the Ministry of Development Planning to support the undertaking of feasibility studies and designs of these plans. Turning to deciduous fruits, a large part of Lesotho is suitable for fruit production. A suitability map produced by government shows that fruit can be produced successfully from as far north as Butabute, cutting across the western lowlands and running all the way up to the south foothills near Mpaki. That's a fruit belt. Government will support the expansion of orchards and the development of deciduous fruit industry as part of a strategy to create additional jobs. The Ministry of Forestry and Land Reclamation, Trade and Industry, Small Business and Development, Cooperatives and Marketing, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, working with banks, insurance companies, buyers, and investors, will lead the rollout of the fruit orchards. Their efforts will build on the successful operation of the Khotula orchard in Mahobole-Leribe. Government is also attempting to lure Detroit Agri Pty Limited and other large fruit growers to take interest in investing in Lesotho. We are in discussion with this company, and they've indicated that they will be in Lesotho soon to discuss playing a role of an anchor investor. Moving to other high-value cash products. Basotho farmers could produce herbs, spices, and aromatic plants for export to the United States under AGOA and Europe under Everything But Arms. Government, through the Ministries of Forestry and Land Reclamation, Trade and Industry, Small Business and Cooperatives, and Agriculture and Food Security, working with farmers and contract farming investors, will, during 2018-19, explore the feasibility of this idea. This same approach will consider scaling up honey production and commercializing organic peaches and dried fruit. Mr. Speaker, Lesotho has a small internal market due to a small population and per capita income. Necessarily, its growth and job strategy must depend on exports and open global markets. Securing the domestic market for Basotho producers is well understood, but must be executed cautiously to ensure that Lesotho's exports do not encounter the same barriers as we seek to impose on South Africa. Government's commitment to increasing investment and production will result in expanded output that would require outside markets and an open trade strategy. Lesotho's textile industry successfully exploits the trade preferences offered under AGOA and benefits some 47,000 employees directly and many others indirectly through the services they provide. That said, growth in this industry has remained stagnant in terms of employment and the volume of work contracted to the Lesotho production units. The industry remains mainly cut, make, and trim, with control of the business in Taiwan and other Asian capitals. Linkages with the Lesotho economy are limited, and participation by indigenous investors is next to non-existent. Displaced control of the industry, retention of operating surpluses in Asia, and lack of government policy are partly to blame for the lethargy in this sector. As government, we want to see employment and wages grow, and the industry diversify across its markets and product lines. Government would prefer that the industry stands by itself and never has to receive financial support from the public purse, as this creates unnecessary dependency. Government will enter into dialogue with the garment industry to explore deeper linkages with the Lesotho economy. Government wants to be clear that after 40 years, the industry should move up the value chain into high-value garments that would penetrate boutique markets in Europe. CGM seems to have transformed itself and left the AGOA market to focus on the large regional market for garments, which has enabled it to establish links with the domestic economy and to mentor Basotho to enter the garment chain. This is a worthy lesson to learn for this transformation. Beyond garment manufacturing, government stands ready to encourage manufacturing in other product lines, and has instructed key ministers to facilitate investment and resolve impediments encountered in the investment process. Investment roadshows are expected to diversify sources of investment and product lines. Turning to tourism, tourism remains a top priority for creating jobs for our people. Although the sector has previously underperformed, hopeful signs are emerging that Lesotho is being recognized as an important tourist destination. Lesotho shares 2% of Africa's 58 million annual visitors, and nearly all of them come from South Africa. With construction commencing soon on the Maragabe Mononta and Mpiti-Slabatebe roads, as well as the Habelo Industrial Estate, the northeast and southwest areas of Lesotho will become tourist hotspots and come with opportunities for new investments. The limiting factors will be availability of appropriate hospitality facilities such as those found in Clarence, Golden Gate, Qwaqwa, and Drakensberg. Government will also work with the Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, and Eastern Cape to catalyze investment in facilities on both sides of the border. In addition, feasibility studies have been concluded for Sanitop, Malitsunyane Waterfall, and Letalaliti. New brownfield investments should be possible at both Katse and Mohale dams. Government commits to working with potential investors to catalyze large investments at the borders and also in these other areas. In addition, government will bring into operation the Botabute Tourist Center, Setlabateba National Park, and Boko Nature Reserve Challenge, and conclude operating leases for Modimu Tuse Lodge, Pony Trekking, and the Pofun Caves. Government will also review leases for the other facilities that are not working well, including Victoria Hotel. Government is also working with tertiary and vocational schools to lift up skills in the hospitality industry, and will specifically collaborate with the Mkongweni University of Technology and Lerotodi Polytechnic in this endeavor. A tourism development fund will be established to be funded by a tourist levy during 2018-19. Exploitation of works of creativity, collection, management, and redistribution of royalties for the works of creativity is still a challenge. The ministry, in consultation with the concerned stakeholders, is in the process of establishing a copyright society, board of artists and authors, to enforce the copyright legislation and reduce illegal distribution of works of art, which has up to now undermined the creative talent in the country. The board shall be fully functional in April 2018. During fiscal year 2018-19, the copyright order of 1989 will be modernized and replaced by new legislation. On technology, to increase product variability in manufacturing, government will explore the establishment of Science and Technology Innovation Hub for stimulation of manufacturing of small day-to-day commodities such as detergents and agro-processed products that are consumed by every Mosotho on the street. Government has taken note of entrepreneurial efforts with the National University of Lesotho and the Mkongweni University, and will seek to strengthen partnerships in order to promote innovation activities that are taking place, such as the egg chick incubator, electric fruit dryer, and others that can easily be assimilated in Lesotho and be used to stimulate economic growth. With the local purchase program, some of the businesses coming from this incubation can graduate into products that can enter the mainstream market. As a strategy to launch e-government, the Ministry of Communications, Science and Technology will begin a process to integrate all government systems that are presently running on separate platforms, including the systems for civil registry, human resource, payroll, pension system, visa, residency permits, and working permits. The ministry should assist the Ministry of Labor and Employment to implement an automated processing of work permits to improve efficiency and eliminate pervasive fraud under the current manual system. As a policy, no new government will be procured to run separately. These measures necessarily will need support. I would like now to turn to a number of measures that will support the investments that we have outlined. Starting with financing, although there are many financial inclusion initiatives under the Financial Sector Development Strategy, financial exclusion remains pervasive in Lesotho. Credit extension has increased only moderately. In fiscal year 18-19, focus will be on capital and financial markets development, financial institutions supervision and regulation, and non-bank financial institutions. As access to financial services begins to expand, the development of consumer protection will be critical. Government, through the Central Bank of Lesotho, is developing the consumer protection policy framework, which will address undue collection methods by lenders, serial consumer complaints, abusive lending practices, and high prices. Payment systems, issuers of electronic payment instruments regulations 2017 will focus on strengthening the mobile money regulation in the country. Consequently, all new and existing issuers of electronic payment instructions are expected to abide by these regulations, and thus resulting in the promotion of market confidence, protection of investors, and management of risks. Government has implemented many initiatives in the financial sector in the last 20 years, but the impact has been limited. Financing of startups is nearly non-existent, and working capital or bridging finance are extremely hard to come by. At the same time, there is sufficient service in the Lesotho economy that end up supporting investments in other common monetary area countries. It is evident that government must step in to hedge a portion of the lending risk financial institutions are unprepared to face. In this respect, government is ready to explore additional measures to address the shortages of much needed capital. The Ministry of Small Business Development, Cooperatives and Marketing has since October been running the partial credit guarantee fund, and is reporting rapid lending with 61 new guarantees amounting to 11.9 million in a space of only 5 months. The impact of this must be understood. 61 businesses have been able to undertake new investments, expand operations, and sustain their businesses. While we do not know how many new jobs have been created, it is encouraging to see the life coming back into these funds. Following a rapid assessment of the scheme, government will consider additional guarantees to the scheme. For greenfield hospitality investments in property development in the northeast and southeast tourist corridors I have identified, government will consider and negotiate transitional tax holidays. Government will also explore an appropriate vehicle for providing guarantees for diverse business ventures. The Maseru securities market has been launched, but its potential is yet to be exploited. It can be a powerful vehicle for raising capital and also for diluting government's holding of shares in privatized companies. In the 1990s, privatization of government businesses, government retained partial shareholding in Trust for Basotho. At that time, and with the absence of a securities market, equity holding became the only avenue for retaining Basotho shareholding. During 2018, government will finalize a plan to recapitalize the Lesotho Post Bank directly through the Maseru securities market by allowing Basotho to buy shares that were initially held by government. A broad assessment of an equity dilution strategy will be undertaken with a view to opening up direct shareholding to our people. I would like to confirm that there is at least one company that is considering partial listing in the Maseru securities market. Beyond financing, roadshows and joint ventures are critical to this investment plan. Roadshows and joint ventures are the preferred method to catalyze foreign direct investment. This can help exploit the 6,400 product lines under AGOA and the completely untapped European preferential trade opportunities. Government will hold an investor roadshow in London in April on the margins of the Commonwealth Heads of State Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Basotho investors interested in linking with UK capital should make their views known. In our quest for stimulating private investment, government is working with USAID to increase the number of products Lesotho exports to the United States. This will be done in two ways. A roadshow for US investors is planned to be held in Lesotho in October with the purpose of establishing links between Basotho, with Basotho investors. USAID will also help Lesotho brand food and medicinal products for export to the United States. I would also like to remind this Honorable House that the World Bank has since 2002 been working with the government of Lesotho to promote fruit production and implement many investment climate reforms. I am pleased to announce that the African Development Bank has also joined the Lesotho's private sector development journey. Turning to local purchase or Buy Lesotho. My colleague, the Minister of Small Business Development, Cooperatives and Marketing, has vigorously promoted local purchase of products produced by Basotho. Government fully embraces this policy. Working with WFP, government provides nutritious meals to 390,000 students in primary and early childhood centers. Under the school feeding program, government intends to procure from 3,000 small and medium farmers up to 2,500 metric tons of maize and 500 metric tons of beans in the coming years. Before the end of March 2018, government will announce a program to procure vehicles on lease from Basotho. Various groups of Basotho, including fleet operators, youth groups, disabled groups, and others will be able to own and lease vehicles to the government of Lesotho. This decision will also provide opportunities for dealers and equipment manufacturers to set up businesses in Lesotho, as government will deal only with providers incorporated in the Kingdom of Lesotho. Additional services will include fleet services and maintenance. Cabinet has instructed the Ministries of Defense and National Security and of Police and Public Safety to buy their uniforms uniforms from producers in Lesotho and from producers incorporated in the Kingdom of Lesotho. Also, departments in the rest of government should procure uniforms produced in Lesotho. Likewise, ministries with large catering needs should follow the path of buying their food needs from Basotho farmers. Finally, private corporations with large procurement needs, such as mines, should aim to buy Lesotho produced supplies where possible and from Lesotho suppliers where not possible. Fronting should be avoided. Representatives of the government of Lesotho in the boards of directors should also ensure that these policies are adhered to. Turning to skills development. Lesotho's enrollment statistics suggest that there are about 300,000 primary and high school dropouts. These are people who left school before they could acquire life skills needed for survival and employment. In the past, they would have gone to the South African mines, but today that door has been shut. Lesotho's technical and vocational education and training has too few slots for advancement and at any rate is too expensive. Clearly, there is a cohort of Basotho unemployed that need the skills necessary to be employed. The Ministry of Education and Training is revamping its TVET policy, but in doing so, it must engage with employers to ensure that its curriculum matches the jobs that are being created in the economy. Turning to business support services, the Standards Institution has been launched and will begin to provide services during fiscal year 18-19. The purpose of this institution is to accredit and certify Lesotho products for safe entry into the domestic and international markets. A 3-year plan is proposed to develop the industrial infrastructure at Habelo in the district of Buthabute. A total cost of the project is estimated at 800 million over a 3-year period. 100 million is allocated or is proposed for this year to install infrastructure, but also to build 14 factory shells, with the remainder shells to be built in the coming years. Indeed, the remaining 38 factory shells should be developed by the Lesotho private sector, by the Lesotho property market. In this respect, property investors must recognize this as an opportunity and begin to work with LNDC and its pipeline of investors as anchor investors for the prospective investments that agree on. The Bello Industrial Estate will cut time to the Durban port and also take advantage of the planned Maraka Bay-Mononsa Road. Government will, during 2018 and within the ambit of the joint bilateral cooperation with South Africa, explore the upgrading of the Mononsa border post and road passage to the main roads leading to Durban. When complete, the industrial zone will employ nearly 14,000 people. Government is augmenting its investment at Tikwe Industrial Estate, with Formosa commendably building its own factory shell. At maximum capacity, nearly 19,000 people will be employed at Tikwe. Market centers. As part of government policy to eliminate obstacles endured by small businesses, the Ministry of Small Business Development, Cooperatives and Marketing will establish market centers in Tikwani, Ribe, Tikwe, Maseru, and Mahalesu. The ministry will also facilitate the construction of 2 slaughterhouses to enable safe handling of meat and access to larger markets. 22 million is proposed to fund these market center activities. Turning to infrastructure. Infrastructure should be the backbone of our economy. To improve public sector efficiency and effectiveness, government will ensure that provision of services at the Department of Traffic and Transport are enhanced and computerized so that they can be accessed online with the assistance of a national database. In fiscal year 18-19, the Maraka Bay Mononsa and Mpitisi Tlabatebe roads will commence, and it is expected that manufacturing and tourism investments will see the opportunities from this infrastructure. Procurement for the contractors will follow the stipulation in the law and will guarantee transparency, value for money, and equal opportunity. It would also be wise to plan the roads with maintenance in mind. The road fund collects funding that is earmarked specifically for road maintenance, but in recent years, recipients have failed to utilize the funding provided. In fiscal year 18-19, the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftainship plans to achieve or to install 198.4 kilometers of urban roads and 1,100 kilometers of rural roads, adding to the 281.7 kilometers and 37.9 kilometers respectively, achieved during the fiscal year 17-18. Construction of low-income housing for 60 housing units is already being undertaken in Dinakoteng, Maseru, and in Kachasneg. Bus terminals will also be constructed in Leribe, Mafiteng, and Simonko. Water will continue to be provided for domestic, commercial, agricultural production, industrial development, tourism, and water sports and hydropower generation. Government will develop feasibility studies for Hlotse and Makhalen dams, which are planned to supply the Maputswe, Hlotse, and some other parts of Buthabut. Also Mafiteng, Mahalesuku, and the Republic of Botswana. This will generate and boost revenue for Lesotho, and in this regard, feasibility studies are planned to start in April 2018. The Ministry of Water continues to oversee the implementation of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, which is moving into the next phase, which is known as Pudihari Dam. There are plans to construct a power plant at Haramarotule in the Mafeking districts that will generate power using solar. The work on this project will commence soon after an EIA is completed. The project is expected to commence around June 2018, and 60 million has been earmarked for this purpose. It is expected that the cost per kilowatt hour should not exceed 6 US cents. The country is faced with a maintenance backlog of infrastructure. Water pipelines are not maintained. As a result, they tend to burst on a regular basis, leading to loss and shortage of water. Energy power lines need to be replaced as they pose a problem to users, especially during heavy storms, as almost invariably they result in power outages. There is no clear maintenance plan for the roads network across the country, which leads to roads sometimes washing out. To address this maintenance problem, government is intending to engage private sector through framework contracts for the maintenance of roads. The Ministry of Health is looking to achieve universal health coverage, and currently life expectancy is at 56 years, with health coverage only being 67%. The target is to achieve 100% health coverage by 2020, and this will be achieved by improving accessibility and affordability of health services, which will be achieved by decentralization of public health care. The focus is to build health posts across the country with a target of having at least one health post per electoral division. This will reduce long-distance travel to health centers, which is acute in the mountains, districts of Mokhotlong, Tabatsega, and Kachasnek. Emergency services have also fallen behind and are beginning to reverse some of the gains made. Therefore, the policy of emergency services will be drafted and approved during fiscal year 2018-19. Establishment of a cancer treatment center will necessitate the establishment of a special institution to manage the radioactive material generated by the cancer center and its threat to the environment. Government has already drafted a radiation protection agency bill, which will culminate in the establishment of a specialized agency that will oversee the operation of the cancer treatment center. The International Atomic Energy Agency will provide the necessary capacity building to ensure effective management of the Radiation Protection Agency. Towards this effect, it is worth mentioning that Lesotho will be hosting the 12th Stop Cervical Cancer in Africa Conference, SCCA, in July 2018, through the Office of the First Lady in collaboration with Princess Nikki Cancer Foundation. On maternal and child health, the intention is to reduce maternal mortality, and this will be achieved by increasing immunization coverage from 68% to 90% by 2020. Increase the number of women giving birth in hospitals from the current 77% to 90%. Other issues relate to malnutrition and obesity, which are negatively affecting the education subsector. Regarding HIV and AIDS, efforts will be stepped up to focus also on TB and preventative measures by increasing the use of post-exposure prophylaxis, which has 80% strength to fortify the body from contracting HIV. On the coordination side, legislative changes will be introduced to move the National AIDS Commission to rename and repurpose the National AIDS Commission to be the National AIDS and TB Commission, as those two diseases are inextricably intertwined. On non-communicable diseases, including cancer, hypertension, and injuries, the renal dialysis is already being offered at Mutebang Hospital, but options are being assessed for kidney transplant, which costs around 600,000 in South Africa compared to the 200,000 in India. Other measures being considered are alcohol and tobacco control. On social grants, the Ministry of Social Development will increase the coverage of the National Information System for Social Assistance, NISA, to all community councils and to cover over 350,000 households. The Child Grants Program and the Public Assistance Program will target to increase the benefit to at least 25% of the consumption needs of the beneficiaries. Government has also launched the Lesotho Youth Employment Grant, which is a grant scheme or program that offers a comprehensive solution to tackling the issue of inaccessibility to finance by young entrepreneurs around the Kingdom of Lesotho. The grant will support the high potential, innovative, and impactful startup ideas and empower the existing youth and women-run enterprises to expand and access new markets and or develop new products and services beyond their current limited capacities. Turning to governance, peace and stability is desired by all Basotho as evidenced in their national vision. The political instability and insecurity we have experienced in recent years, while a throwback from the post-independence period, was made possible by loopholes in our constitutional political framework. Our government is therefore committed to inclusive reforms in which all groups of society should feel free to participate. The recent dialogue by political leaders facilitated by the CCL and witnessed by civil society is testimony to commitment and openness to broad participation. Government is pleased at the vigorous manner in which Parliament is currently executing its oversight mandate. We look forward to parliamentary reforms that would strengthen the capacity of Parliament in this regard. The judiciary should equally look forward to formulating judicial reforms with vigor to restore confidence. Government is concerned about the ineffectiveness of the civil service and is looking forward to public service reforms to restore professionalism and eliminate politicization. Cabinet has directed the Minister of Local Government and Chieftainship Affairs to draw up a plan to implement the new decentralization policy and devolve power to local authorities. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, in July, I outlined measures aimed at reducing spending and promised to come back with more elaborate measures. Today, I have outlined elaborate revenue, expenditure cutting, and expenditure and investment plans for the 2018-19 financial year. At 5.2%, the fiscal deficit is high and will require more stringent control measures. At 4% across the board wage increase, the wage bill will remain high, but will have to be complemented by additional austerity plans in the medium term. The measures announced here today bind the entire government and will succeed only if we pull together as a team. Each one of us should feel the compunction to do their part in this Herculean task, to restabilize the fiscus of Lesotho. I wish to express profound gratitude to the Right Honorable the Prime Minister for the support he has provided me. The last 8 months have not been easy, and there are more hurdles ahead. I also wish to thank the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister as the chairperson of the Budget Committee and my colleagues in the committee for the hard work and patience that has delivered this budget today. For the committee, it has been a journey of discovery. I also wish to acknowledge with much appreciation the professional inputs of the management and staffs of the Ministry of Finance, of Development Planning, Central Bank of Lesotho, and the LRA, as well as the rest of the public service. Without the support of the people of Tetsane number 33 and my family, I would have not been able to endure the difficulties of the last few years. Hoto, Pula, Na.
What's not going to Order. Order. Order, please. Order. Order. Order, honorable member. The question is proposed that this honorable house gives general approval to the financial proposals contained in the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2018-2019. This motion needs no seconding. It is presented in terms of section 112 of the Constitution. We thank everybody for coming. My guests had included the Governor of the Central Bank, the cooperating partners, the chief accounting officers. This is referred to the relevant portfolio committees, which we will outline. They must do their part up to the 16th of this month for the budget to be, the report to be tabled in this house so that we can start with the discussion. Next item, Mr. Clark.
Item 4, motion number 26.
Honorable Leader of the House.
Motlhompe motsamaisi wa dipuisano ha ho bua ka mmuso ho tlile ho ipuelwa ka tjhelete hobane ha hona letho le ka phethahalang tsamaisong ya puso ka ntle ho tjhelete. Ka lebaka leo ke ema mona ho sisinya hore kajeno ha ntlo ena e kgabane ema e tle kgefutse ho fihlela ka la 16 kgweding e tlang. Ka la 16 kgweding e tlang ho ke ho feta dibeke tse 2 dikomiti tsohle tsa di-portfolio committee di tshwarane le mosebetsi wa ditlhopho tsa tshebetso kgakanyo tsena tsa ditjhelete e leng hore lekgetlong lena ha ke kope hore ntlo e phomole ho sa bolelwe nako. Ke kopela hore ntlo e kgefutse matsatsana a wa dibeke tse 2 e le hore dikomiti di tle di sebetse ka nako eno e beuweng e tle re ka la 15 di be polanya ditlaleho tsa tsona haholo portfolio committee e amanang le taba ya ditjhelete. Ka lebaka leo ke boetse ke kopa mona hore ho fapana le hore ditho tsa dikomiti di ye kgefutsong, jwale di kenya dinala mobung ho feta matsatsi ohle, e le hore di qale ho sebetsa ka hora ya borobong ho tloha ho sasa ho fihlela ka la 15 kgweding e tlang, mme di sebetse ho fihlela ha hora ya botshelela motshehare wa mantsibuwa e fetile ka metsotso e 30, e leng hore bahlomphehi ditho tsa dikomiti ha bana phomolo ho tloha ho sasa haeba ntlo ena e kgabane e ka kgahlwa ho etsa qeto ya hore ho sebetswe jwalo ka ha kopo ya ka e beha. Jwale molemong wa bahlomphehi baeti ba rona ba dutseng ka mane ka galaring ya hao mohlomphehi motsamaisi wa dipuisano, ke tlo bala ona molaetsa ona ka puo eo ba ka nnang ba e utlwisisa. I rise to move that when this Honorable House rises today, Wednesday, 28th February 2018, it do adjourn until Friday, 16th March 2018 at 9 o'clock in the morning to allow portfolio committees to sit from tomorrow, Thursday, 1st March, to Thursday, 15th March 2018, between the hours of 9 o'clock in the morning and 6:30 in the evening on all working days, to consider the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the 2018-2019 financial year. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
You haven't finished.
Thank you for your warning, Mr. Speaker. This is to facilitating reporting to the House in terms of Standing Order number 25, subsection 1, C and D, read with Standing Order number 68, subsection 4. And now I finally do so move, Mr. Speaker.
Who seconds? Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Tate motsamaisi wa dipuisano, ke ema mona ntate o tlatsa mohlomphehi moetapele wa ntlo hore tlhahiso ena eo a qetang ho etsa ntlo e amohele, mme haeba ke hopola hantle ntate ehlile ke lekgetlo la ho qala haeba ke hopola hantle hobane normally ka dilemo tse ding ntlo e kopane hoseng ho etswe thapelo jwale dikomiti di sala di etsa mosebetsi o bontsha le ho pakatsa seo mohlomphehi letona la ditjhelete a ketang ho le supa mona ke o bontsha hore mmuso e hlile o finne seledu hore diphetoho tse lokelang ho ntshetsa naha ena pele di kenngwe tshebetsong, mme ho hlile ho qalwa ka sona sebopeho sena. Ke nako eo jwale bahlomphehi ditho tse kgabane tsa ntlo ena tseo e seng ditho tsa cabinet.
I don't expect that long statement on a procedural motion.
Thank you, Ndati. E leng ditho tsa ntlo ena jwale di loketseng wa itukisetsa hore ha di shebane le subcommittee ena ya ntlo ena e leng kabinete jwale ba tle ba fupere melami ho bontsha hore ba na le boikarabello ditjheleteng tsa ntlo ena. Ka mantswe ana makgutshwane, Ntate Motsamaisi, jwalo ka o so boletse hore this is a procedural motion, ke a tlatsa Ntate.
Thank you. The question is proposed that when this Honorable House rises today, Wednesday, 28th February 2018, it do adjourn until Friday, 16th March 2018 at 9 a.m. to allow portfolio committees to sit from Thursday, 1st March to Thursday, 15th March 2018 between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. to consider the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2018-2019 and report to the House in terms of Standing Order number 95-1, C and D, read with Standing Order number 68-4. I now put the question. That when this Honorable House rises today, Wednesday, 28th February 2018, it do adjourn until Friday, 16th March 2018 at 9 a.m. to allow portfolio committees to sit from Thursday, 1st March to Thursday, 15th March 2018 between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. to consider the estimates of revenue, expenditure for the 2018-2019 and report to the House in terms of Standing Order number 95-1 C and D, read with Standing Order number 68-4. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The motion agreed to. Order. Honorable, the Right Honorable the Prime Minister, honorable members, honorable ministers, honorable members, our valued guests, the table. This concludes the business for today, and the House is adjourned until the 15th of March 2016.
yang magaisane
iya
eya ntate
Oh.
eya ntate ga ba soletse Okay, ntate.
wa nsebetsa tjhe ba ntse ba bua ka studiong ka kwa
Hello
ema
Ke ready, mme.
tsatsi le tsa go betla necessary le mona
ke ready mme ke ready eya mme okay I guess I could change ke ntse ke mo utlwe mme eya mme ke tla qala ka ntate o santse teng ha ke boele ke o lebohe wa mphato maikutlo jalo ka se re bontshitse a batla a le mangata haholo ha ile mona tshebetso ya ho teka dikgakanyo tsa ditjhelete tsa selemo sena e se yentswe ntle le ho senya nako haufinyane kwano le nna ke na le mohlomphehi monyane moleleki ebile e le moetapele wa ntlo ebile e le modula setulo wa komiti ya bajete ntate re a amohela re kopa ka metsotso e mmedi fela re fumane hore na ebe maikutlo a hao ho di bajete ke a feng
e etsa pale ka ditsela tse mmalwa dikgakanyo tsena tsa ditjhelete tsa lemong sena ka hore tsela ya ho sebetsa e fetohile haholo makala ha a sa tlo dumellwa hore a nna ye lekaleng la ditjhelete mane a buelelle dikopo tsa ona ka bonngwe re ne re a nka ka dihlopha tsa makala a sebeletsanang a neheletsanang tshebetso ke hore ha ho bua e le mohlala fela ka taba ya paballo ya makgulo le metsi ho fumana hore makala a sebetsanang le phodiso ya diphoofolo twantsho ya sehalahala ntlafatso ya makgulo pokello ya metsi jwalo ntho tsohle kaofela tse amanang le nosetso jwalo di kopangwa mmoho mme makala ano ha ilo hlaka pele ho lekala la ditjhelete ho buelella dikopo tsa ona a tla mmoho ho a lemosa hore ke diathoteng mmoho di bapile taba ya bobedi e fetohileng e ntjha ho tloha jwale ke a tshepa hore ho ya pele kwana ke taba ya hore mohlomphehi letona la ditjhelete o phatlaladitse komiti ya ntlafatso tabeng ya kgodiso ya matsete a di-company tse ikemetseng kore ntho e bitswang Private Investment Reforms Committee eo modulasetulo wa yona e tla ba motlatsi wa tonakgolo ke komiti e ntjha komiti eno e bitswang Private Investment Reforms Committee o tla hopola mme wa ka hore ho bua ka ditlhopho botjha ditabeng tsa molao wa motheo ditabeng tsa parlamente ditabeng tsa makgotla a boahlodi ditabeng tsa bosebeletsi ba setjhaba le ditabeng tsa ditsi tsa tshireletso empa re boetse re hlahile hape ka tlhopho botjha ya matsete a di-company tse ikemetseng ka botsona e leng hore o ka re ntho eno ke tlhopho botjha ya botshelela ho tse kgolo tse 5 tseo mmuso o dumellanang le bohle ba amehang hore di tlameha hore di be teng Lesotho.
Ntate re lebohile nako ya hao le ka moso. Thank you. Eo he e ne le yena mohlomphehi Monyane Moleleki mme o boletse ka moo a di bonang ka teng haholo ha ebile e le yena modulasetulo wa komiti ena ya dibajete. Ntle le ho senya nako haufinyane kwana le rona hape re na le jwalo Dr. Budgetspeech Mosisidi mme le yena re ka lakatsa ho utlwa rona ebe o di bona jwang. Ntate ra o amohela re kopa fela ka motsotso kapo e mmedi o ko fe Basotho maikutlo ha ntate hodima dikgakanyo tsena tsa ditjhelete tse qetang ho tekwa.
Ke a leboha mme ke tshwanela hore ke qale ka ho lebohela letona la ditjhelete Dr. Budgetspeech ka a good narrative eo a entseng hobane jwalo ka house o utlwile o bone e ne le pale kapa nka re tshomo e telele eo a e beileng ha o tlile ha hona moo a supileng dikgakanyo ka kotloloho empa pali eo he yona e monate mme le ha boholo ba yona e le ditaba tse re hlolang re di utlwa tse re taba e kgolo ke phethahatso ke hona mo phephetso e kgolo e tlang ho ba hona teng yana o entse puo e ntle ha ke ntse ke re pale e bile monate eno ya maano policies yona e bile monate ka nnete
Ke kopa pele ke
re qetele ha mpotsise empa taba e kgolo ke ena ya hore na phethahatso ya ditaba tsena tse bileng di fetang le selemo sena hobane that narrative of policy and goes way beyond this present fiscal year. Empa ke fere ka hore ka nnete ke thabile haholo hobane ke le mokgatlo wa tsedi jwale ke thabile haholo ho utlwa hore tsela e tsamayang ka hara lebatowa la haeso la tsedi ke e tloang hampiti e yang Slabathebe National Park e bileng e leng the only World Heritage Site e teng Lesotho mona e tlo phethahatsa e tlo ahwa le monse.
ke lebile nako ya hao ntate ke a leboha ntate. Eo he yena ke Dr. Budgetspeech Mosisidi mme o bontshitse hore ditaba tsa dikgakanyo tsa ditjhelete o di utlwile le hoja ho le qholotso ya phethahatso ntle le ho senya nako jwalo ka ke se ke bontshitse hore maikutlo a mmalwa haufinyane kwano le nna ke na le advocate Thuto Mahlakeng re tla lakatsa ho utlwa hore na ebe yena o di bona jwang. Ntate ra o amohela re kopa ho fumana maikutlo a hao.
Mme ka nnete ha ke boke dikgomo ho ba lebelli ba hao ba sebelli ba TV Lesotho empa le bohle ke mbe ke re ka bokgutshwane ba boholo tsatsi lena ke tsatsi leo re neng re ile ho rona ka ditebello tse kgolo hore re tla mmamela ha mmuso o beha maano a ditjhelete le hore na e ka ba bona tjhebo ya rona ke feng mme re ne re tshepile hore hara dintho tse ngata re tla bolellwa maano a batlang a atamela ditaba ka mokgwa o fapaneng le ka ba di tla di atamela ka ona ke empa ke re ke utlwile hore ntho tse ngata di ntse di tshwana le ka mokgwa re ntse re mamela di speech ha di balwa ka teng ha hona pheko e kgolo eo nna ke fumana empa ntho eo ke leng consent ka yona nna eo e sa lokeleng hore e be pina ya rona ya le mosese se seng ha re bala budget re acknowledge hore there is chronic youth unemployment empa ebe ha re tle ka maano a hore na yon that chronic youth unemployment re ya addressa jwang re acknowledge hore teng fela ha re no supa rona re addressa jwang mme tsietsi ya ka ke hore this is a ticking time bomb. Ha eba batjha ba rona ha bana mesebetsi jwale ha re tle ka maano a fapaneng hona re tla thusa taba eno ya bona jwang o fe mohlala fela ke shebile recurrent budget ratio ya yona to capital budget ha e fane ka tshepo mme ha ona effort ya ho etsa reduce ratio eno re batle ya tatamellana mohlomong e ye to half ha ba ho ka ba jwalo ha e se ka ba say he 2/3 1/3 empa e seng hampe ka mokgono ka mo eleng ka teng bona o ke ba wa re e ka tseba hore e etse generate any jobs for bona bothata bona bo re go sebileng ba batjha ke bona bothata ba ka bo bogolo ba bobedi nna ke nka taba ya batjha go hloka mesebetsi wa bona hona jwale ha o sa hloka business as usual ene ya re ntse re etsa tsa tsile le empa e se e hloka mekgwa e radical mekgwa e robust mekgwa e very very revolutionary ya hore o re twa tsa bothata bona jwang nna ne nka ba ka re yona 4% ena ya increase go ba sentse bana le mesebetsi. I would be so cruel and say ha re se ka etsa 4% empa that 4% e tswe budgeting jwale e lo bona bona e addressa the area di thing tsa hore ho create employment for the unemployed youth. I go increase the budget ka 4%. O ko nke 4% le mo se le seng mohlomong se latelang jwale ba sentse ba ina le hona bona o ka nna wa ba sia moo ba la se mothamonyana
ntate re sa o ganyehle re kopa hore re le boe maikutlo ha molemong wa nako ntate re a leboga le ka moso thank you ntate ao eo hene lena advocate Thulo Mahlakeng mme o di beile ka tsela eo a di beileng nka le ho senya nako hape mohlomphei Sedibe Motshorane ke ena haufinyane le rona e le moetapele wa mek le ena ka tsela e tshwanang re ka lakatsa ho utlwa hore na ebe o di bona jwang ntate re a amohela re kopa o fe Basotho maikutlo a hao haholo ha bile o le modula setulo wa komiti ya neditseng tjhelete tsa setjhaba rona ebe ho ya pele le bone ka re ho tlo sebetsa ha jwang ntate le papisitse le budget e qetang ho tekwa
ke le bomme ke go pakanete jolo ka ha o so bontshitse ke go ala ka diba tse pedi o go ntumelle ke qala pele ke bua ke le modula setulo wa PC hona le dintlha tse pedi tseo ke reng kanete ke tholetsa mmuso ho tsona ke tholetsa mmuso hobane re ile ga swa mmuso mohlare re le parlamente ka komiti eno ya PAC ntlheng ya pele ke 990 million e nong ho thwilo ha tsela ya magakabe ho ya monontsha e sa tenderelwa mme re ile ga bitsa lekala leo la public works ga ba ga bitsa le letona la ditšhelete le letona la public works ga ba bontsha molao wa motheo go molao wa motheo chapter 5 ka di temana tsa yona ho tloa section 111 up to section 114 ere ha ona ka tsela efe kapo efe go ka sebediswang ditšhelete tsa mmuso ho saka hwa fitiswa budget parameng ya ba ho ba le appropriation bill kana go eno morero wa bona ene le go fela be ba file motho mosebetsi fela o sa tenderelwa mme ka nnete ke bana ba utlwile mme ba entse ntho eo re ile ga dumellana ka yona hore letona la ditšhelete ha lilo budgetela tsela ena ya monontsha e hlae ka hara budget speech jwale ho latelwa procurement procedures ka nnete mono ke tshwatswe po e kgolo haholo fela ya hore mmuso mona o utlwile ha parlamente e phetha mosebetsi wa bona wa yona wa ho ba swaya mohlage he mme wa tseba ke le moile hore Lesotho mo ihle batho ba ka iketsa ntho ba e ratang kana go ba e ratang ha Basotho ba ka ba hopola ba tla hopola hore nakong eo re neng re beile lekala la ditšhelete ka pela PAC ho ile wa hlahella le thathamo la di-company tse sa pataleng di-dividends tse lokelang ho ya mmusong wa Lesotho ha ga tsona ho no ho kenyeletsa Avani Lesotho dibeke tse pedi pele letona le kgabane le tla mona ka mora hore jwale re bue ka taba eno hore re tlo e emela ka maoto ke mona re a utlwa hore 7 million e tswile e tla mmusong wa Lesotho jwale hoja bana ba bang ba hlokomela hore re ntse re itlela ho bona le bona ka mogotshwanang mme ka nnete ke tholetsa ha entse acknowledge hore parlamente wa le hle pheta mosebetsi wa yona wa ho bea le ihlo tshebediso ya ditšhelete tsa mmuso a go nke ke go le ka tibena wele ke le moetapele wa MEC ka nnete ke kgahlwe haholo ke selelekela sa letona le kgabane la ditšhelete selelekela sa hae se ne se fana ka tshepo wa tsaba moneng se fana ka tshepo teng ke mona se ne se bua ka bofuma tlala bosio ba mesebetsi haholoholo ho batho ba batjha.
Ntate ke kopa hle ke so hanye ke mpe ke re fela ka molemong wa nako e tlebe ke lebohile haholo ntate.
O leboha buang ke so ketilwela.
Ke re se re tlametse go potlakela nqa e nngwe ntate bene ke re ke mpe ke qetela ntate molemong wa go ba bantse ba soka ba ba fihla.
Ee mme ke ne ke re taba ena ya bosio ba mesebetsi re ne re utlwisisa go budget speech e tla re bontsha hore na ho tlo createwa mesebetsi jwang, batjha ba tlo fumana mokgwa tjhelete jwang hore ba tsebe go qala mesebetsi. Go utlwile policy e senang tjhelete e supporta. The policy was good but e sena tjhelete e supporta. Yes mme ho lokile ke bona hore
No ntate a o ka tsela pele ntate.
mme ke a leboha. Haeba o re ke tloelle ena ya batjha ke fetela hape ho ke mona mo mmuso o tlo bona mokgwa hore o collecte revenue a kana di hlile ke dumellana le mmuso hore ho a hlokala hore be le mekgwa hore na re collecta revenue jwang. Empa ha ke se ke sheba ha ho increasewa di price tsa motlakase, telecommunication, jwale inflation yona e le 5.5%, fela bahlanka ba ekeletswa ka 4%. Jwale ke boela ke sheba hape ke re ha e ka re jwale le VAT khafa e re patalang ha re ka thepa e tloa ho 14% ya ho 15%, e bontsha hore ehlile ka nnete ba tlo hula ka thata ke Basotho haholo ha o tluwa dikgafeng moo. Empa mekgwa ena ya hore teng kwaeng jwaleng ho be le levy e patalwang mono ke dumellana le mmuso tabeng eno.
Ntate ke lebohile nako ya hao le ka mosohle ne sempa re habile hore fela re kopane le maikutlo a mang ka lebaka la re lebohile ntate. Thank you ntate. Ao he ne le ona maikutlo a mohlomphehi Sidibe Motjhoborwane e le moetapele wa MEC e bile le modulositulo wa komiti ya PAC e diseng ditjhelete tsa setjhaba ntle le ho senya nako ne re o tshwaretse tsona di le hakalo mokgahlelong ona wa Mphato ha re boele re kgutletse dithapo tsena ho wena.